This is Dylan Adler, signing off.
From Wrangler Studios in Melbourne, Australia, it's Wednesday Nights with Dylan Adler.
Welcome to Wednesday Nights with Dylan Adler. This is the very first episode of the show, so please make sure that you hit the like and subscribe button below to show your support. On tonight's episode, I'll be joined on the couch by noted Australian music photographer Michelle Grace Hunder, as well as Fringe Festival heartthrob Petra Eliot, who'll be giving us a bit of a cheeky performance a little bit later on. Our first guest is a treasure in the Melbourne arts community, and she's taking on Adelaide Fringe Festival with her petrosexuality and boobs. Welcome, Petra Eliot.
Hi, Dylan. How are you?
I am marvellous. Thank you so much for sitting with me.
Oh, I'm so pleased to be here. It's wonderful.
Now, what I think is really cool is that you have the most crazy schedule right now, like constantly. You were telling me off air that, you keep saying yes to things.
Yeah.
What's your schedule right now?
It's pretty crazy. So I'm producing for Adelaide Fringe. I have a new Splendid Chaps show coming up on February 12th. I'm also working on some things for Pop-Up Playground, my improvised puppet comedy show for Comedy Festival, which we're also doing at Adelaide Fringe. There's rehearsals for that. So it's all a little bit intense right now. It's wonderful.
Totally. Well, because we were talking about it off air, saying that, while you're in producer mode, because you don't reap the immediate benefits, you just keep saying yes.
Yes. Oh, I'm not busy that. No, it's fine. I don't have anything on stage for at least 3 months. It's fine.
Totally. So do you just wait? How do you know when your cup is full?
I don't think I've reached that point yet, or at least I've certainly not admitted to it. So I think I definitely feel most valuable when I'm busy doing lots of very different things. So I'm probably never going to say no to something.
That's awesome, because we like it when we have content here. And we like what you do as well.
Oh,
but
cool.
I'm really curious because, you've got so many interests and you've done so many things across, cabaret, DJ sets, podcasts, acting. When it comes to putting on a show, how do you go from forming the idea and then coming up to the arrangement and then rehearsing it? How do you order those? Like, where does it go from being a concept idea to the actual fully fleshed production?
It's interesting. So Petrosexual started, it wasn't my first show choice. I had another show that I was going to work on, and then I mentioned Petrosexual to someone and they said, oh no, that idea is great. Do that instead. So then I came up with the songs and the general themes, and then I tend to work out the songs and the way I want to perform them, and then get the narrative. That I find that the songs bring the narrative to me and the message that I'm trying to say overall. So, but there's a lot of different cabaret ideas that I have that typically start from either a pun or a theme or a style that I want to do. So
for anyone who isn't familiar with Petrosexual, can you just give us a bit of a rundown of what that encompasses?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's basically my journey of discovering my own brand of sexuality, what that means in all its different facets, but more importantly, the journey of introducing other people's brands of sexuality to me. So basically just going, everyone's got their own little different thing, and that's totally fine as long as no one's harming each other and we're all having a good time and it's consensual. Then let's just, embrace everything.
Totally, and let's get up on stage and talk about it. What's the response been like?
Do you know, when I brought the show back for the second time and I had people really excited about that, because obviously as a producer you're bringing something back that most of your renter crowd has already seen. When they're so enthusiastic that they get to see it again, you know that you've hit on something really, really special.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then the next decision was, well, it's time for Adelaide Fringe with this one. So
I want to talk about Adelaide Fringe in a tick, but one thing I want to talk about, because I was reading through your bio, now you've done freestyle vocals on house DJ sets.
Yeah.
Okay, so is that something that you can learn, or did you just grab a mic one night and we're just we're doing this? How did that even come to be?
So I was working with a producer on producing some of my original material, and he worked with a DJ who was based in Canberra, who basically invited me to come and sing on some of his tracks. And then because he was actively DJing, he said, come up. I've got this concept where we've got live musicians that join me in a cocktail bar every Thursday night. And so one week it would be a percussionist, another week it would be a trumpet player, and then another week it would be myself or another vocalist. And so we got to learn certain songs, worked with certain vocals, but a lot of the time I was improvising vocals to whatever song that he put on. And it would be either, oh, that song kind of vaguely sounds like Just Be Good to Me, or Teardrops by Womack and Womack, so I'll sing that, or oh, that kind of fits one of my original songs. So we got to the stage where we did these kind of the biggest club in town, like I was wandering the club with a microphone and singing for, into this massive club. The club itself was an old cinema, so the massive screen. I felt like such a diva. It was great. So yeah, like I've always done improvisation, whether it be in performing, in acting.
So I'm just like really curious. Were they vocal hooks, or were you using like specific like hymns, or like talk me through? I'm fascinated by this, Petra.
Okay, so basically, I'd often have lyrics that were pre-written, and the melody might be a certain idea in my head, but I'd often have to adapt it to whatever the form of the song would be. So particularly with house music, it's very, you've got your 4 to the floor, it's repetitive. You do kind of need to understand where the build-up is, and you need to work with that vocally. I would often have an effects unit that I would use as well to like just really push the delay or the echo or filter it, or, just really just play with the music and what we were putting up. But the DJ and I had a great relationship as well. He would never tell me what song was coming up next. And he would just go, I'd be like, I need to know what I'm singing. He's like, no, it's fine, it's fine. So he'd put it on, and then I'd be listening, as he was beat mixing the 2 songs together, and then going, okay, that kind of sounds like this. I'll perform this instead. So I was always on my toes. It was so much fun. I miss that stuff. I really do.
That just sounds like the most crazy experience. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like you could not pay for that experience.
And they didn't. It was a modest income, but it's Canberra and arts. So you know what that is like.
Yeah, I do know, and my crew are all nodding and giving me the glare right now. I love you guys. Now, you studied acting for screen and stage.
Yeah.
Where's the strangest place that you've used that academia outside of film and stage?
There's always the theatre and education kind of stuff. I've done some really bizarre projects, I must admit, like everything from a giant storybook that was telling the tale of Tiddalik the frog who drank all the water. It was kids' theatre, and it was with this book we'd move it all around the locations we'd be performing, and the book would literally open. It was taller than me, and you tell this story to these kids who were just fascinated. So the acting degree has definitely come into not just performing on stage and in screen, but in presentation type stuff. So the live podcast, we started out as just being sort of a co-host announcer kind of role, but the more I worked with the boys and the more I started becoming familiar with Doctor Who, I would be chiming in with one-liners, and by the end of the season you couldn't shut me up. So yeah, it's
Now, you are going to be at Adelaide Fringe Festival this year. What exactly are you going to be giving the Adelaide Fringe Festers a taste with your petrosexuality?
Well, so we start out with the Mighty Little Puppet Show, which is the improvised kind of theatre sports with puppets. In early March, and then the following week I'm at the new venue, which is really exciting, Henrietta's, which is at the Henry Austin, and I'm told it's a wonderful venue.
Nice.
I'm really excited. It's such a big community so far, so it's going to be wonderful.
Awesome. Hey, are you right to stick around?
Yeah.
Excellent stuff. Hey, we've got more of Wednesday Nights with Dylan Adler coming up right after this. Our next guest is an icon in the Australian music industry. She's photographed acts from Cursor to Remy and Danny Brown, having her shots featured in Rolling Stone, and last year was a part of Melbourne Music Week. Please welcome to my dream bay, Michelle Grace Hunder. How are you?
Good, how are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm so good. Now, I'm curious because you just seem to jettison around the country all the time. The other week you flew up to Sydney just for a project and then flew back on the same day. Yep. You have a radio show, you're part of Melbourne Music Week. How the hell do you juggle your time?
That's a good question. I get asked that all the time. I feel like when I'm not busy, I get really uneasy. Like I have to be productive all the time. Even if I have a week off, I feel like like I have to be straight back into it. My friends tease me about it all the time because I'm always thinking kind of 3 steps ahead. What's the next project, or what could I be doing differently or better, or who can I be working with next? Or I'm always on social media just checking out like what's happening as well, because that kind of helps frame where my projects will be kind of next, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Like Petra and I, we were talking about this before when we were saying that like when we have downtime, it's like, well, what do you do?
Yeah, I get really, really anxious when there's downtime. I think also when you're self-employed too, it's different when you've got a 9-to-5 job and then you have a holiday because it feels like a break. But when you're self-employed, I find you feel like where's that next phone call? When is it going to come? Like, are people ever going to call? Yeah, that's the thing. Are people ever going to call me again? And I like recently just had pretty much all of December off because of Melbourne Music Week, and that was such a big project for us to go through. And then January is always quiet. So by mid-January, I was just panicking. I'm like, nobody wants to hire me. And then, of course, straight away, like the 3rd week of January, crazy, absolutely crazy. Just, 4 or 5 shoots a week and I'm back to normal and want a holiday again. So,
that's awesome. But it's good to know that like, somebody who works in the industry and is a professional photographer also experiences that like...
That never goes away. And I try to tell people too, because I mentor a lot of kids that come through and everyone's like, how do you get started? And that the hardest thing is to get that, the client base coming through, and there's always like quiet periods, doesn't matter who you are. And some of my friends and I talk about it all the time. We go for coffees and we all have those same anxieties. It happens to all of us, so it's totally normal.
Great, yes. That's good to know. Hear that, people? Anxiety, it's normal.
Yeah.
Now, we were talking a few weeks ago and you've made a decision to not get into Facebook beef in 2017.
Yes, I'm thinking how well have I gone? Actually, I'm doing quite well. Yes.
Look, I don't need to mention any names, but because it made me really curious about what Facebook beef have you gotten into in the past?
I know, I'm one of those people that I like to read the comments. I'm not alone. No, I feel like, well, it just keeps, I want to see what other people are thinking, and even if it's like really the opposite of what I feel like is my opinion, I want to try and understand the other side and not necessarily sway their opinion, but just get involved and have that conversation, because I feel like conversation is really what's needed to, reach a happy medium sometimes. But the end of last year, I was just thinking, there's just some opinions you literally will never change. There's just some people that are really, stuck in their views, and they could be, I think they're really outdated or whatever, but they obviously think that they're right. So I just don't know how many opinions have ever been changed. So I'm just stepping back a little bit.
I just think it's hilarious though, because I sometimes I do try and venture into the comments area, yes. The foray, and then immediately it escalates when you try and so quickly you can be like, have you ever thought of this? And it's like, get wrecked, and you're like...
Didn't we just have this happen on your page recently?
Yeah, it did. It did. Yeah. It was great.
And I think I just kind of was like, smiley emoji. I was like, I'm not going to get into this.
And then funnily enough, you were really passive, and then it escalated.
It did, and it all came on you, and I was like, whoa, okay, where did that come from?
Oh, I'll just hate that. I'll just bounce the hate. It's great. Love it. Absolutely love it. Now, you host Back to the Future on Kiss FM,
yes.
With one of your longtime collaborators. Well, you did that with Her Sound, Her Story.
Different people, actually.
Oh, different people.
Yeah. So I do Back to the Future with Luella DeVille, who's a really well-known model and writer and just an amazing all-round chick. And we do the hip-hop show on Saturday mornings, which I love, and I've been doing that for a year. And my long-term collaborator that you were talking about is Claudia San Giorgi Dallimore, and we did Her Sound, Her Story, which was a women in music photo and video series that featured 50 women in Australian music.
Which I thought was phenomenal, and especially going through. I think it was in Collins Street Mall. It was in the Emporium. In the Emporium,
city,
that's right.
So just off Lonsdale Street. Yeah.
And it was great because you got to see. Well, when I walked in there and saw Alpha Mama
on
a big screen or on a big print, I was like, this is fantastic.
Well, I think for us too, like there were people that in that space you would never see in that space. For example, so people like Mojo Juju, or people like Simona Castricum, or just smaller artists that. Perhaps don't get a lot of recognition in mainstream, especially a space like the Emporium. It's about as commercial as you can get.
Yeah.
So for us, it was just like, it was amazing having these really incredible women that are doing such amazing things, being profiled in this way. So yeah, it was really cool.
And with your radio show, Back to the Future, now I liked it. I enjoy it. I don't get to listen to it as often as I'd like to because it's on in the morning.
I know, Saturday morning.
And it's on it's on
I don't
early.
think anyone is listening, actually, to be honest.
I used to listen to it when I go home after kick-ons.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Very nice.
that's what I mean. Like when I'd wake up after a kale smoothie. No, it was. I'll be honest. I'll be real. I tried to get
Put it
through.
on in your Saturday morning
Yeah.
yoga.
I know, it's a really weird, yeah, I know. I don't know how many people are listening, but anyway, yes.
Yeah, so it's what I enjoy about it is the eclectic blend. Now, do you come up? How do you two choose what's being played? Because I can imagine you're like master of the aux cable.
Yeah, no, not really. To be honest, it's pretty much 50-50. So we pick 10 songs each, and I think about between 15 and 17 usually make it. And Luella, because she's actually, she puts the playlist together and she's, I guess, essentially the DJ. So often it's really just what mixes really nicely in a nice kind of way. So that's, yeah, we try and come up with like old stuff, new stuff. We try and find female artists. We try and profile Australian artists as well. So we just try and have a really good blend every week.
With the Aussie artists, because of that little coffee table book that you made.
Yes, that other thing that I did, that other project.
That other project, right. So for anyone at home, Michelle shot and put together a fabulous coffee table book highlighting and celebrating Australian hip-hop artists. It's actually something that I go through like at least once a week. I'm serious. But do you get, I guess, a lot of jealousy from people, or not just so much jealousy, but people going, well, why haven't you played my track?
Yes. I was not prepared for that, I think. Not, yeah, like I said, not jealousy, but just there'll be a few people that I guess they don't know the right way to approach it and will just harass you on social media. So there's been a few people that have actually had to say, you need to back off because I will never play you if you keep doing that. Yeah. So, yeah, and or people that will like compliment me, like my looks. I'm like, that's not the way to do it, bro. Like, tell me I'm the best photographer in Australia. That'll probably get you play. But if you tell me, oh, you're beautiful or something, I'm like, I don't care.
And I already know that.
Yeah, I've got a mirror, like whatever. But yeah, it's just funny, I guess. I've got to respect the hustle, but I think there's, if you send me an email and I listen to it and, Luella and I are both digging it, then yeah, we'll play it.
And sometimes it's really hard to like tell a mate as well, your track just isn't good.
Mates, I like all my mates' music. So generally speaking, if someone's got a new track, I'll play it anyway because I'm just really excited that my friends are making music. And but I'm really excited about where Australian hip hop is heading. There's so many really amazing artists doing awesome things that's not in that traditional Aussie hip hop sound. That's the sort of stuff we're playing every week.
Because lad hop does my head in. I can't handle it.
Well,
it's
it's got its little niche and it's not what I listen to, and I never have listened to it. But
that was the most like beautiful way of saying I don't like it.
I just don't. It's not for me. But there's amazing. Like there's some really awesome African Australians that are making really amazing music, and they don't listen to Australian hip hop. It's not what resonates with them. It's not part of their culture. Or, they're very American influenced, and I think that's really cool. It's taken the whole genre to a whole new kind of area that we probably haven't really heard before. And Luella and I are big supporters of that sound, so we definitely give it a spin.
Just before you go, I'm really curious to know who are your Australian hip hop artists to watch in 2017? I know, it's like such an easy question.
Oh my God. I'm loving, I think it's Midas Gold, B-Wise, Manu Crooks. I'm trying to think. Oh, you just put me on the spot. There's so many.
And of course, if you don't mention someone, they're going to be sending you a message and telling you, I don't think you're beautiful anymore.
I know, like my friends, like Seth's working on a new album at the moment, which I'm really excited to hear.
Seth Century is working on a new album now.
He is working on a new album.
Because I played last year. I played the shit out of Dumb. That track just resonated with me.
Song yesterday. Have you heard that? If you like Dumb, I think you like the new.
I just love everything about Seth Century. I mean, from room to rent to, and I worked in hospitality for a few years. So thanks for your hospitality. Was just my power up track.
Well, Seth lives like a minute from me, so he's a good buddy of mine.
Can you just give him the biggest high five for me when you see him?
High five, yeah, totally.
Awesome stuff. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight.
Worries.
You're watching Wednesday Night Nights with Dylan Adler. Coming up next, we have a live performance from the one and only Petra Eliot.
Human nature. I know you feel conflicted. You think that you can hit this. The problems that this bitch is quite descriptive when she says no. There ain't no potential. It's non-consensual. No, I'm not premenstrual, just my own girl. So my dress is provocative. That's my prerogative. Your words are derogative, there ain't no bloodlines. If you were appealing, toes would be to the ceiling. So curb your zeal, if there's no yes, it's no. I find you creepy, ain't gonna get freaky. I'm far too sleepy. Women can't just fake this, we shouldn't have to take this. You're acting like a rapist. I don't want you to come on my face. You've been so lucky to get to hug me. You mean fuck me? Hey, you can't make up your mind. Am I the whore or the Madonna? What's between my legs ain't your private nirvana. I ain't no prima donna. It's just that I don't wanna. You look like an iguana. Go smoke your marijuana. Goodbye. There ain't no potential. It's non-consensual. No, I'm not premenstrual, just my own girl. That's my prerogative. Your words are derogative, there ain't no bloodlines. If you were appealing, toes would be to the ceiling. So curb your zeal, if there's no yes, it's no. I find you creepy, ain't gonna get freaky. I'm far too sleepy. One thing I ask of you, respect my choice when my choice is not you. Don't buy another round and think she'll come around. If a yes can't be found, then a no will resound. You gotta be told a million times, no enthusiastic consent. It's a sex crime just cause my skirt's short. That's my choice, not an invitation to you and your boys. Our police are blaming my state of clothes or lame excuses. She's walking alone. She shouldn't have taken the path so dark, but she thinks she is taking shortcuts through the park. Well, can't blame them. She curvy, I'm just walking and they just curvy. Tell your sons don't rape or your girls will scrape for a better reason to wind up in the paper. This misogyny needs a circuit breaker. So the girls say no, well you can't just make her. So are you listening? No more pretending. This needs an ending. Then we'll all say you're a good. It's non-consensual. I'm still not premenstrual, just my own girl. So my dress is provocative. That's my prerogative. Your words are derogative. There ain't no bloodlines. If you were appealing, toes would be to the ceiling. So curb your zeal. If there's no yes, it's no. I find you creepy, ain't gonna get free.
much for coming on tonight.
My absolute pleasure.
You've been watching Wednesday Nights with Dylan Adler. If you liked what Petra had in store for you, then you should check out Adelaide Fringe Festival. You can also check her out on SoundCloud and throughout podcasts. We'll talk to you in 2 weeks. See ya!
Bye.